I got to build a business that serves life and not the other way around, meaning I get to spend a lot of my time day to day building relationships with people, my friends, my wife, my kids. When I think of the product idea, I immediately think of who is going to acquire it, and that actually feeds into the product idea.
Hey again, and welcome to the NexChapter podcast, recorded right here in the Republic studio. Think of it as the Republic for founders and entrepreneurs, where we share wisdom, have some fun, and celebrate the journey of another entrepreneur. I'm Raman Sehgal, the author of The Floundering Founder. I'm also the co-lead of the Toronto chapter of PEF, Post-Exit Founders, and also your host today. And every episode, as you will know, runs through the 3 T's: the trajectory of the business that the guest grew, the transaction itself when they sold, and then the transition, the reality after the exit. Think of it as unfiltered wisdom from post-exit founders. Okay, my guest today is super cool, and I'm probably going to butcher his name right now, but I will give it a job. I'll give it a go. I should have said Dmitry Dragilev is my guest today, and what a very amazing guest he is. Very different in many respects from many of the guests that we've had on Next before. A bit of background about Dmitry: he is a 4 times acquired SaaS founder and growth expert on a mission to build businesses that serve life, not the other way around. He has spent the last 15 years developing a model for high margin and self-managing companies designed to deliver both time, freedom, and meaningful impact. A model validated by a decade of successful exits, and you're going to hear about that today. And his track record of building autonomous high-value platforms includes 4 businesses: Topic Ranker, which was acquired, actually I'll do it the other way around, Polar Polls, which was acquired by Google back in 2014. Very aggressive PR that he used to grow that business. Just Reach Out was his second business, which was acquired by SEO Jet, and that was in 2020, which was an AI-powered platform, which he'll talk about in today's episode. The next business was Small Biz Tools, which also was acquired by SEMrush in 2023, an affiliate software review platform. And most recently, he sold to SEMrush again, Topic Ranker, which was originally launched as a top-performing app in the SEMrush App Center, and they ended up acquiring it. Beyond his own ventures, Dmitry is a master of search and AI visibility, and since 2009, he has consulted for over 500 companies, from solo founders to global giants like HubSpot, Dow Jones, Realtor.com, Pipedrive, amongst many others, helping them rank very highly in Google and LLMs. And in addition to that, he is a very prominent voice in the tech community and a frequent contributor in Forbes, Wired, TechCrunch, and he's also interviewed many guests in his own right. People like Tim Ferriss, who he talks about today, as well as the founders of Twitter, LinkedIn, Eventbrite today. And today he focuses very much on teaching founders how to build impact in self-sustaining businesses that leave plenty of room for what matters most, and that is living. Honestly, this is an amazing insight into someone that has done what we do on NexChapter, in terms of building a business and transitioning, but in a very different way. And he lives an incredible kind of ethos around his life, which is just super different. So yeah, I know you'll enjoy the show. And if you like today's show or any of our episodes, please don't forget to follow, subscribe, like, share, comment, give us some feedback. Please enjoy today's show. All right, Dmitry, welcome to NexChapter, my friend. Good to see you again.
Hey, good to see you too. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, lovely to see you, man. And we spent some good time together in Miami last year, and it's great to now have you on the show. Look, you are different to virtually every guest I've had on this show in the most coolest way. And so, we start the show typically where I ask the guest to talk about the trajectory of their business and how they ultimately ended up selling it and what life looks like. But you've had 4 successful exits in the kind of SaaS world, which is phenomenal. And you seem to have like an amazing playbook for doing this. And so I'd love you maybe just to talk about the 4 companies that you built and sold, and maybe just talk about how similar they were in terms of like the ethos behind them, and or if any were very different in some way. But I think you seem to have I know you said stumbled upon. That's definitely not true. You have intentionally created a methodology of building these types of businesses, which I hugely admire. So talk to our listener and viewer about what these businesses were and are and how you did it.
This is a great intro. Thank you.
Actually, before you continue, and this is the beauty of doing a. I forgot to ask you about your drink. My number one job is to always ask the guest about what they're drinking today and what drink you brought. So before you start answering that question, tell me. I'm sitting here looking at my drink, being like, "Oh, I forgot to ask."
It's so good. I got Gemacha tea, so I'm a big tea drinker. I was born in Russia, came here as an immigrant, and so tea has always been part of the culture. You drink it all the time, anybody who comes over, and so we have a ton of tea. I drink this stuff all the time. It's got some rice in there that's been kind of toasted, and so you put that in with the green leaf tea. And so you get that light, toasty, smoky flavor of the tea with some of that pure green tea. So it looks pretty green with a little toasty
I like
feel
it.
to it.
Is this part of your health? Is this part of your health? You're always on health kick?
I guess. I don't know. I do like my health stuff, and my kids make a lot of fun of me for all the stuff. But yeah.
Mine too. And I'm drinking one of my favorites, which I've had on. It's Berries and Cherries Hip Hop, which is good it's got live cultures and it's good for your gut. And this is going to make me feel better. This is
my wife loves kombucha. She loves kombucha.
These guys do kombucha as well. It's fantastic. So yeah, you often see me drinking one of these when I'm doing an interview. So, okay, get back to the story, Dmitry. Sorry for interrupting your flow there.
Yeah, a long time ago, 2 things happened. So, like, I was a software engineer. I had moved to Silicon Valley, and I wanted to figure out how to build businesses. And I was looking around, saw all these different entrepreneurs, and they're like, gosh, everybody's like raising money, and they have these VCs breathing down their neck, trying to push them to grow that company, scale it up as fast as possible, and sell it. And I'm like, gosh, it's a lot of pressure, but this is really exciting. And I was looking at all these people, and everybody was walking up to everybody and saying, well, how many users do you have? What's your MRR? What's your revenue? Who'd you sell to? And I was just like, gosh, this is like pretty wild. And at the same time, I was reading this book by Clayton Christensen. He wrote Innovator's Dilemma. He also wrote this book, How Will You Measure Your Life? And in the book, he went back to his class of Harvard, 80-something, and everybody there was super excited, like super accomplished type of C-level executive. We have Ernst & Young, McKinsey, all these big executives, huge careers, and they were very accomplished on paper. Yet when Clayton Christensen went back to them, these people were like on wife number 5, like they had 7 houses, and like they didn't talk to their kids. They were the most depressed person on earth. They just got chauffeured in their car left or right. The more you look accomplished on paper, the less happy you are. So I was like, gosh, is this really true? So I started a speaker series really dedicated to trying to figure this out. I started interviewing guests in Silicon Valley, and lo and behold, I found out that, a lot of very accomplished, very successful people are very, very sad and I'm not really having a good time. So I was like, well, there's got to be a better way to do this. And this was like 2008, like 2009, And so I had landed a gig at a startup, and I started my startup journey then. And I really like met Tim Ferriss. That was the next thing. And I ended up interviewing him, and it was a whole funny thing about it. But the whole mentality kind of made me think, okay, I got to build a business that serves life and not the other way around, meaning I get to spend and like a lot of my time day to day building relationships with people, my friends, my wife, my kids, and spending time with them, because I feel happier and more excited when I hang out with friends, when I hang out with people. I feed off the energy of people. So, and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna do that. And so when I was building these companies, they were sucking up a lot of my time. I was like, okay, what is sucking up my time? How can I? And I just would obsess. I have a little bit of obsession about that. And so, how do I kill it off? How do I kill it off? All these different things that would suck up my time. But yeah, the four companies was Polar Poles is a company I was working on with Luke Wroblewski, who's the founder of Mobile First back in 2012. It was a polling app, and I was the only marketer that was growing it. He was the designer, we had a developer, and we grew that to 40 million page views per month. Page view would be like somebody taking the poll. It was a little polling app.
Yeah.
People would
Yeah.
we'd embedded inside all these different like I did a lot of PR, so we would put it into TechCrunch and NPR and NHL and MLB and all these different sites with users, Forbes, all the Hearst publications. And Google bought us really to integrate us into Google Plus back then. They were really big into that, if you
Yeah.
remember it. And so,
I remember.
and I actually walked away from that because I did not want to join a full-time job, because it went against my whole like ethos of doing this thing where I'm doing mainly like building relationships. I was about to have a kid, and that was my first acquisition. And I was like, okay, I got to build more of these things. And so the next one was Just Reach Out, which was a PR platform. Again, it was also built in the vein of spending more time with my wife. At that point, I was moving away from like 8 hours a day to like 6 hours a day. But my wife and I were working on it together. We built that and sold that right before COVID, like 2020. It took us about 6 years to build that. It was a PR SaaS business. And we sold it to SEO Jet, which ended up trading hands again 3 years later to the guys from Slack. They had a company called Ken10. So then my next one was an affiliate site. It was a blog, and that was acquired by SEMrush in SEMrush 2023. And that only took about 2 to 3 years to build. And again, that was around 5 hours a day working. So I was moving sort of to that direction. And then my final one, Topic Ranker, this one was like 3 to 4 hours a day, which is my current rate now.
Wow.
And that took 2 years. And then, yeah, I'm launching 2 new apps, right? Two new companies now, in February and March. And I'm working on my third one now. And they're all, so I am about 3 hours a day right now with that. I got those 2 things launching probably in March, and then my third one, I don't know. We haven't built it yet, but
Okay. So many follow-up questions. Amazing, first and foremost. So let me rewind back to, I'm a big Tim Ferriss fan, and so did you meet Tim Ferriss before he was super famous, or did you meet him after the 4 hour?
So it was like he had just published For Our Body.
Okay.
And so he was famous. He wasn't as like crazy, like all over the place. He wasn't like, I think he had his podcast and his book and everything, but he didn't really have like other stuff.
Okay.
Yet he wasn't as insane, but the funny part, that For Our Body had that like 20-minute orgasm thing, and there's an orgasm clinic in San Francisco, And so this was a pure marketing event. It was entrepreneurship. And I was going to
Mm.
interview him about that. And we had this orgasm clinic showed up. These people showed up from that clinic, and they were going to ask questions about that one little part of that. And I was like, we can't have that here. It's just not the right crowd. It's not going to go anywhere. It's just going to mess things up. And so we were just trying to deal with that during that event. So I was a little nervous. I'll share that little recording. I still have a recording of it. That I didn't even have proper video people show up,
Wow.
because I just literally popped my laptop up. And right before that, I had Justin Can from Justin.tv, because Justin.tv and real streaming was really hot back then. This is 2000 and I don't know, 2010, maybe 2009. And it was a big deal, live streaming video and stuff. And so I just streamed it, me and him sitting down, chatting. The room was packed. There must have been I don't know, 100 something people. And he, afterwards we went out for a burger, to eat some food. And he just told me a lot of things about how he was operating things. And I was like, okay, I can maybe give this a try. He was working more than 4 hours a week, of course, but it was just the idea of okay, can you free up way more time,
And so you took some of the kind of Tim Ferriss philosophy and ethos and kind of really, really brought it into your own life and your own startups.
Yeah, it was just he had all these interns and people that just took care of stuff, looked at his email, sorted stuff for him. They had assistants to do pretty much everything. And he was very, very specific around what he wants done and how. And I was like, well, maybe I can get rid. And he got rid of a lot of stuff that was fluff. And he would travel around, and he'd have a lot of free time. And so I was like, wow, that's crazy, I want to do some of it. I don't know how. So it wasn't necessarily, I didn't copy what he was doing or anything. It was just this grand notion. And it was married with a Clayton Christensen book where you had the most successful people. Because you looked at Unicorn, I read TechCrunch, and I'd be I'd lust over that successful person who sold YouTube to Google, and oh my God. And I'd go to these meetups, and I'd listen to Fireside Chat with Reid Hoffman and all these stars of Silicon Valley. And I'd be oh, they're amazing, But on the inside, I found out that a lot of them were not doing
Not very
good.
happy.
They
Not
did
very
not
happy
have
people.
not very happy people. So I was okay, I got it. And then I met Tim Ferriss. I kind of read a little bit about him, and I was this seems like the right thing, right? And I was also looking at everyone in my family and my friends, and it's everybody's working all the time,
I'm sure for our audience today listening to you, they're okay, how the heck has this guy pulled this off? And I loved as you went through the 4 companies you've started and sold, the time you spend in each of them have just it's just reduced. So you really have. And I want to come back to your relationships and the kids and all that kind of stuff, because I'm a big believer in all that kind of stuff. Just on the 4 companies that you sold, was there ever ask to you mentioned obviously Google to potentially go work there? Was there ever an earn out contingent with any of them? Was it ever a, hey, you need to stay for 6 months? Because obviously your lifestyle and the way you live your life, Dmitry, kind of goes against the corporate kind of large corporations that have purchased. Or was it very clear on day one, hey, it's a product, if you want the product, you don't get me with the product, if you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, some of them we did. What I was very specific on is listen, I cannot be a full-time employee post-acquisition. If you need me as a part-time consultant to help you integrate the tool into your core tool set or continue running the tool, I'm happy to dedicate 1 hour a day 5 hours a week to do this, right? I'm happy to do it for a compensation. Like, let's say 20% of the things or revenues for those years that I'm working there, and some, like monthly fee or something. And generally speaking, people would be like open to that kind of thing. And so to me, it was just an hour a day that was extra, and Upside was pretty good. And I kind of knew the business, and I kind of wanted to make sure that the thing kind of flourishes and continues to grow, not just kind of dies off. Because most of the time, I used to follow the 37 Signals guys, Jason Fried
Yeah.
and DHH. And so they would publish this stuff about like 90% of the companies that get acquired usually just go down the tube. Like at the end of the day, they just kind of milk it for the revenues for a few years, and then they don't develop it and kind of improve it unless, it's very, very strategic. So I want to make sure in some of these instances that, the company takes it and runs with it. With Google, it was just not in the option pool. It was either you join full time and you get another job, and then you might have some impact on this app that we purchased from you, but you're gonna have to be doing other stuff like product management and things like that. And it would have been way more less stress back then because I was my first one. I was about to have a kid. I didn't have a
Yeah.
job. This was my only thing. But I would have kind of went against my whole like, okay, let's just build my own businesses, learn how to do this, and get on a trajectory. The second one, just reach out, was really, I was like, okay, I kind of get it. Like I sold it to a private buyer. I did not need to stay on, but he wanted me to kind of advise a little, so I advised him a bit more. And then it was clear to me that he wasn't the right one to kind of continue running it, so I was involved a little bit in the next sale when he changed hands and he sold it to the next buyer. I was like, okay, I just want to make sure I'm involved there. And the next buyer did bring me on for a little bit of this kind of consulting, but it was honestly like an hour, less than an hour a day, probably 30 minutes a day,
Yeah.
just check in here and there.
The nature of your products that you built, they weren't necessarily primarily like you were doing all the work. These were product in the market with users doing their thing. They didn't need you there to babysit them 24/7. So I presume,
Yeah.
some of what you're describing there is like, a lot of our guests that we've had on like had to go and do an earn out, right? Or they had to roll forward some equity. But it sounds like what you managed to do with all four of your businesses was effectively build something that was autonomous and that could be handed over for someone. If I'm understanding correctly.
Yeah, it's part of my philosophy. I built the businesses to be completely autonomous of kind of like management. So a lot of them can be, you do have to look at any complaints and issues that people raise around the product, but they're built in a way where they run on top of an app center. Like the SEMrush apps, for example, they run on top of SEMrush. So SEMrush is responsible for marketing these apps, maintaining them, doing all the customer service, and maintaining any stability issues, basically the day-to-day operation. If there are major issues, they will come to me and I will delegate things to my team, who are my developers, my designers. If there's specific issues where consistently come up, but I'm not doing the day-to-day managing. I'm not looking at, metrics. I'm not thinking about product strategy. I'm more or less reactive in a way where if some decision needs to be made, I'll make it. But all of them are SaaS businesses, so it's somebody signs up, they can sign up on their own, they can use the product. If there's errors or faults or issues, they will report it. It will go to somebody else. That's the person who will look at it. And if there is issues that need to be fixed, they'll go to the engineers. And, if I need to get involved, I'll look at it, I'll look at the reporting or whatever. But it's built in a way where it just kind of runs in the background, and it's software. So any person that is not dissatisfied, they can leave this software product.
Yeah.
They don't get charged. It's all self-serve. We don't, take there's no services. There's none of that commitments. It's very easy. You can do annual or month to month. So it's pretty simple. Like it's a simple structure to allow a lot of flexibility. And I'm always looking for that one sort of like partner now. Right now I'm working a lot with SEMrush, but I'm thinking about a new product with QuickBooks, where it's like that marketplace and they maintain it. They maintain the app, they maintain getting users to the app, they maintain the marketing, the customer service, the billing, where I'm just sitting back and just looking at how things are going.
I'm interested for our users to kind of to understand that first one you sold obviously took longer than the others, right? That was your first kind of playbook, if you like, to do that. As you went through the next evolution and the next products, and I appreciate they're all different, did you more or less use the same playbook that worked for you, or had you tweaked, the way that you were thinking about these things with it iteratively better? Yeah.
Like, for example, Just Reach Out was like PR software. It's a
Yeah.
do-it-yourself PR. So instead of hiring a PR firm, you're going to use my software tool. It allows you to pitch journalists. It's got the whole shebang there. AI can write the little emails to podcast hosts or
Yeah.
PR journalists, pitch them your story, whatever. And so we started up with me and so my wife was working with me on it. And so we started as a services business. So essentially we were doing PR pitching. Right away, I was like, no, we can't be doing this. Is going to be horrible. Like, we're going to have tons of clients. We're going to have to do PR for them. Like,
this is my life. You've just described the 20 years of my life of being, I come from a PR background, and that is exactly the manual nature of PR and managing clients and pitching to journalists. And
sometimes the stories are just horrible. Like, it's like a dog company or like a dog food company. I'm like, okay, like,
who cares?
What can we do? It's a like PR story. Like, we have the best dog food in the world. I'm like, I get it, but like, this is not PR worthy. Like, please, like, we can't help you. They're like, no, please, we'll pay you. And so right away, I started shifting away from like DIY service. And so then people were signing up, but they didn't know how to do it themselves. So we had to coach them through it. And I was like, oh, this is taking too much time. So I built a course called PR That Converts, which I actually still sell to people.
Wow.
Where people learn how to do PR on their own. And then we started building these like self modules inside the app. And so we quickly we're shifting over to like, how can we get rid of all this time sink? Because if it's a services business and we're explaining stuff to people, it's just spending so much time, things that we can't scale. I want it to scale without us being there all the time. And I feel like it took 6 years to get to acquisition because we were learning through all these different things to try to build a business that takes 2 hours a day. And automating these service things that would suck up all the time with customers, and building little videos, little lessons, little widgets, little whatever it is that would teach people to do stuff so that they can do it on their own, that it would scale. And then my second business was a purely automated business. Like, it was all like, it was a content site. And so we would grow it based on affiliate revenues. So we would hire the best writers, create the best pieces of content on the most kind of prized keywords, get it to the top of Google, and then start adding affiliate links in there to earn affiliate dollars, and then run some ads on the same articles. And whatever we spend, we would buy back immediately, because we would basically get affiliate revenues from people that would hit our pages. And we sold that to SEMrush when they started their digital acquisitions department. It was that bought like Search Engine Land and some of these other blogs now, but that was completely automated to a point where it felt like it was just a content business, and I wanted a little more because I love building product. And so I built Topic Ranker, which we just sold October of last year, and that was a SaaS product on top of SEMrush. And so that was a keyword tool, and that one was very much automated. So there was no services at all. We didn't do any SEO right away. It was right away a SaaS product, and it was also built on top of the App Store that was responsible for promoting it. It was like
Ver-
perfect timing, perfectly and so that's why we were able to move so quick with it. 2 years to acquisition from
It's
pretty much
incredible.
from launching it. And so now I'm building LLM Gap Analyzer, which is essentially similar thing, where it finds like issues within the Google AI answer and tells you like what is wrong with it, so that as a marketer you could get your stuff cited in there.
So, yeah, yeah.
So similar, it's launching a SEMrush app store, and I'm betting that they'll be able to promote it, and it will be super like automated. Like it's just they take care of customer service, they take care of financials, they take care of the design of it, how it works within the app store, the code. They basically host the whole thing, and they do a rev share with you, and so it's just a clean way to run a business. Like the only thing you got to do is just provide the right features for the app, and you have to have a good relationship with them. So
Which presumably you do now, having sold a couple of businesses.
by now, yeah.
You've been generous in sharing the trajectory and the playbook and how you've iterated and improved each of your businesses and the kind of automated nature of most of them as well. When you reflect back on the transactions of all of these, did you always have an idea of who? Obviously, because it's SEMrush, you're building on their app, right? You're building on top. So were they, in your mind, are they always the acquirer, the potential acquirer, right? Like same with like the QuickBooks one you're doing, for example, like are they the potential acquirer? So you're always, maybe I'm oversimplifying that, but it's not like you're having to hire an investment banker and go to market and shop it around, because you kind of know, you kind of know, is my
true,
assumption right? Yeah.
When I think of the product idea, I immediately think of who is going to acquire it, and that actually feeds into the product idea. Like this morning, I was going back and forth with Claude AI, doing a prototype. I was like, dude, build me the prototype for this thing. I'm thinking about it. And Claude is great. Claude Code, it'll just like build the thing for you as you're thinking about it. And the first thing I told it this morning, I was like, hey, this is going to be a QuickBooks app marketplace. I'm going to want to have QuickBooks buy this thing in 3 years. This is like my thinking already. And it's going to audit your QuickBooks to see how risk tolerant they are towards getting audited by IRS. Like how risky are your books to get audited by IRS? And it's going to use public data from IRS on standards of what you can deduct. And it's going to compare what your books are doing now compared to everybody who's submitted it to IRS publicly. And it's going to use their manual, the IRS manual, to sort of remedy things. If you get notices from you, like you can upload things and it'll tell you like, hey, this is what you need to do according to their own manual. So I was like, so as I was telling the Claude Code to give me a prototype of how this thing's going to look, I was like, hey, I think I want QuickBooks to acquire it because it's going to be a killer feature on their app marketplace. So it's going to generate so much money that they're going to want to add it to their EBITDA. And so I'm kind of like, I just think that way because I'm like thinking in 3 years, it's going to be about this much. And I'll just want to sell it to like that app marketplace. And that's why I'm very attracted now to like app marketplaces.
Yeah.
Like Hire CRM has an app marketplace. HubSpot has an app marketplace. So I'm always like already thinking like what can I be building inside their ecosystems that they can't build fast enough on their own, that they can just grab after it's doing really well. That's how I think about it.
I'm fascinated by this because it's so different to my experience in business and in life. And so I'm sitting here thinking, why the hell? Why am I not doing what Dmitry's doing? How the hell's he come? So what? But how do you come up with this stuff, right? Like I admire like this. You've done a very neat job of almost simplifying these solutions and tools that you've built that sit on these app places that the acquirer then wants to buy. But that is to most people not an easy thing to do. So and you mentioned obviously a few ideas you've got in the pipeline that are coming. Like, where do these ideas come from? Like, are you always on the lookout for things? Are you reading something? Are you just looking for problems in these systems? I'm sure it's a combination of things.
See, like ideas, like a lot of people have ideas all the time. Like I know that, like, my wife has ideas for apps, like friends have ideas for apps, but I feel like you have to be passionate enough about it that you're going to go do stuff around it. But it also has to come from like your experience with that specific issue and your experience and background in that topic. So, like, for me, I've done my own books for so long, and I had tried and failed a company last year in the books space. Like, I actually spent a bunch of money, and I went in with a friend of mine, and it just didn't work out. Like, the guy was not, like, it just, like, this was like the fifth wheel for him, and he didn't contribute enough. And I was like, look, we got to wind this down. But we had built a cool product. But I had done books so many times that I've had this multiple issues with this. And one of my best friends, this guy Romeo Razi, he's taxbright.com, and he's an ex IRS auditor who's now a
Wow.
CPA, and he lives in Vegas, and we're super close. We just joke around a lot. He sent me a hydroponic garden. It was just hilarious, like for Valentine's Day for my wife and I is to do that. And he and I talk about IRS stuff all the time. And I'm like, dude, we need to have something that just tells us all the stuff. And so the idea was born out of this, like, me getting all these IRS notices and not having pinging him. I'm like, if I didn't have you, I don't know who I'd be. Like, it's really like such a pain in the butt. And him telling me all this stuff about, like, dude, if you get audited, like this, that, and that. I was living it for like years with him, and I kind of like got to know this thing, and I was like, nobody's really innovating in this space. Like, and I'm looking at QuickBooks, I was looking at their app marketplace. I like the stuff that is doing well there is like, I could do way better. And so I even interviewed. I went and I just cataloged all the apps on there, started emailing people who built apps for QuickBooks Marketplace. Like, hey man, how much are you earning? How are you liking it? How did you come up with your idea? Just learned like a little bit about the space. And I was like, I can totally do this. Like, this is totally fits into my like 2 hour a day kind of thing. I just bust out the app, put in a lot of effort and time in those 3-4 months, and then just let it kind of flow. And I was like, okay, there's like legs here. Plus, I had friends with like the best CPA and auditor. I can put that branding on it that gives it a little edge. So I got like these little movement, like these pieces that kind of feel really sturdy for me in terms of like a solid ground to build the product. And I'm pretty passionate about the topic. I was like, I think kind of cool to take the IRS manual, which is like the longest document ever. It's like 3 times longer than the IRS code in the United
Whoa.
States, and put it into like an app that allows people to know what the heck to do when they get these stupid notices. Like, I got this break here. See, like, it's like, I don't even know what this means. Half the thing, like something around 2023, they're just emailing me about it now. So I'm like, would be cool to just like take a picture, just tell me like in plain English, like, what am I supposed to be doing? And so
That's very cool.
yeah, it kind of comes around. Like, you do some digging and see how much you really feel like you want to be spending
Yeah.
the rest, like, because it's like a 4-year thing. It's like, are you gonna be
Where you
married to
want it,
this
yeah.
thing?
And you seem very intentional about how you want to spend your time as well. So you don't want to pick projects that you don't have a passion about. Reflecting back on what you said before, even when you sell these companies, you said something like you want to see them flourish on the other side, right? Which I think is really nice. And normally in the interviews, I now ask my guests about the transition, right? Like when they've sold the business and what life looks like after the acquisition. But having done 4 and the way you describe, like you almost are, you have an ethos or a way of living that is almost like work is part of work is just one component of your life. and you have other things. You mentioned obviously your wife several times. Your relationships with kids. Your I know health and fitness is really important to you as well, Dmitry. Like, so how do you talk to us about like what a day looks like? Because like you're working for 2 or 3 hours a day, but how does Dimitri spend his time, right? Because that's the only way I can ask a question about, like, ask guests about what does that transition life look like? Are they ever bored? But you're clearly not bored because you're doing stuff that you're passionate
I'm
about.
pretty involved. Like I'm loving life. Like I'm gonna meet with my uncle who works like all the time, like 8 hours a day, 9 hours a day, 10, 11 sometimes. And we're like so opposites. And I look at him, I'm like, when are you gonna retire? Like when? Because like, so like in the morning, let's see, I wake up like 6 a.m. Usually like breakfast, getting the kids up, doing breakfast with them, and just kind of like seeing them off to school. I usually like to take a walk. So if I'm not walking one of them because they're like older now, I'll walk around on my own and at least say hi to like one other person. That will be like a successful morning. Having that breakfast, getting outside before like 7:30 a.m. And then usually I get back here and I'm usually going to the gym, doing Olympic weightlifting, or I'm doing like yoga, or I'm going to the hot room to just going to infrared sauna or something. I'm doing something active, or I've been to the gym on my own, just lifting weights, or a group class, a CrossFit, whatever it is. So that's usually between 9 and 10:30, and so I'll just make sure I have it, like I've eaten and I have everything ready for that. So I might check my email a little bit in the morning, but I'm off to that. I come back around 10:30 or 11, have my post-workout snack, and then I start my work day. And then the kids get home around 2:30. My oldest gets 3:30, so I can work until around 2:30, 3:30. So 11 to 2:30 is really like my productive time. I open up Slack. I'll try to open it up once that day, try to answer all the questions that people have put up for me there. There's usually 2 or 3 Slack channels.
And who are these people? Are these guys and girls that you're using as contractors or freelancers, or these people you employ?
For example, for my apps with SEMrush, there's dedicated channels where people are
Okay.
running the apps. So there's questions from marketers, from people that are operating the apps, from doing customer service or engineers
Okay.
around
Understood.
those
Sorry.
apps. So I usually get through all those messages. I try and time box myself. I'll launch a timer on my phone. I usually give myself 30 minutes to do Slack, but sometimes it's difficult. I get bogged down and in there. But I usually try and respond to all that. Then I go through the email. I usually give myself like around an hour to get all the email done. And then I know that I have like another hour and a half after just stupid Slack and email. So then I'll look at my task list. My calendar is a task list. I use Todoist, which is an app that just translates everything into it. And I just look to see if I need to get something specific done that day. If there's nothing, I put all the appointments in there as well, personal, not personal. I'll just get into like a deep work, like a product strategy session, or which features is this going to have, or positioning, or whatever it is. And then usually I finish out before the 2:30. I'll finish out like any kind of like appointments or things that I need to do. I'll make sure that I know for the rest of the day what I need to do, because if I'm going to shut down my laptop, I don't do email or Slack or anything on my phone. My phone doesn't have any of that. My phone is also
Wow.
black and white, which is kind of like sucky. Like you can't really like look at stuff really easily or read stuff really easily. And so it's just kind of like texting is kind of meh. It's just very bland. It doesn't get you very excited. And so I try not to do much on my phone. So if I'm shutting down my laptop, I know. So around 3, it's kind of like 3:30. It's almost game over because my son is gonna be home, and the kids, I gotta be downstairs and just like be there. It's just like I look at it as time bomb. Like you're just gonna be in college way too soon. Like he's already in
Yeah,
middle
yeah.
school, so I gotta be there and hang out, even if it's boring or they're fighting or I don't really feel like I should be there because this sucks. I still am like, all right, I'm gonna remember this later. I want to be
Yeah.
part of it, and so then I'm just doing homework with them. I'm making snaps for them. I'm cooking dinner, whatever, like activities, piano, whatever, guitar, and then yeah, I mean, most of the day is done. Sometimes, like if I'm building this tax app, I might break my own rules and just like hop on at like 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock while I'm waiting for whatever slow cooker to make something. I'll be like, okay, let's just do this or that. Because when I have downtime, my brain is always going. It's like,
Going,
okay,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
how can I build this? How can I build that? I work on that a lot. I'm doing like meditation, and I'm trying to use meditation to quiet the mind so that I'm not thinking anything. Some mixed results.
Easier said than done, right? That is a difficult thing to. Yeah, and honestly, I'm sitting here listening. Like you are doing. I mean, as a dad of three, and and my kids sound like similar ages to yours, and spending time with the wife as well. It's so important, but it's so difficult to do as we live in a very distracted world, right? Whether it's our phones or our laptops or whatever, is everything's trying to get our attention, and you seem to be doing a very good job at managing that. And I love as well, for anyone or for listeners and viewers, the time bomb of kids going to college. I think about that all the time now with my eldest being a teenager, and it's I mean, I used to think about that. Someone told me years ago, think about that with your parents as well. Like your time, your input, like my in-person time with my father's passed away now, but my mum is like so limited now, right? I live in a different country, and make sure we call her every day, all that type of thing, because actually that time with my parents is actually so limited. So I think it's really neat how you talk about how you've built your work life around building successful products that work and that have a very clear acquirer, which I think is really, really smart, but also solve real problems and that you're passionate about, but self-sustaining and automated in a way that doesn't need you there 24/7. It's not like you're getting calls from clients at 10 o'clock at night saying, hey, like we've had an issue with whatever and you need to solve this right now. It's not, it's not life or death
No.
in that sense, which again, I think is really great.
It's really quiet, yeah. As you point to your time with mom, somebody told me like after we leave home at 18 years old, there's only so many
Yeah,
hours
yeah,
or
yeah.
whatever you spend with your mom, and that it's like a tiny fraction of what you would spend with your
I think
mom
it's
and
like
dad.
80 or 85% is at
It's
18. And like you're
18,
in it's,
mm,
and then when you leave for college or whatever, it's now you're into the last
10.
10 to 15% or
Last
whatever it is.
10 or 15. So
It's
it's like, oh,
crazy.
my mom lives only an hour away, and I try and see her at least twice a month, right? And sometimes three times a month, but it's really hard. Like I can only do twice a month. Maybe we'll do lunch or do a hangout. She'll
Yeah.
come out here. And like this last month was 3 times, and I felt really good about myself. But it's crazy. Like what? There's so many hours in a month. What do I dedicate? Like 4 hours a month to see my mom, and then how much time do I have with her? Like I don't know, 30 years,
Crazy.
20 years, 10 years. So it's like the way we live is kind of wild to think
It
like we
really
we
is.
spend a lot of time on other stuff. Like we check our email, we look at the news, social media feeds. We might watch TV, but
Yeah.
spending time with somebody else, everything has
It's
to be like, okay, what's next? What's next?
what's
If it's
next?
like
Yeah.
if it's a silent time, like if it's silent, it's no good. Like, okay, hanging up. Okay, see you later. Like,
Yeah. You have to. We flew back from a short vacation yesterday, and I took all devices off my kids, and I was like, guys need to be learn to be bored. You learn to like be patient and think and be in your own head and look around and stuff like that. But watching them and me and my wife try to deal without any distraction is actually weirdly a skill that we all have to probably learn again. And I know we're running out of time, but one question I wanted to ask, you said a phrase, obviously you mentioned a book that you read at the start, and the book that you read in terms of like, how will you measure your life?
Yeah.
So how will you, Dmitry, measure your life?
I guess by how much time and impact I've had with the community and people around me who are just closest to me, like my town, the friends and community that I have here. I run a men's group, which
Yeah,
helps men and dads connect and feel that sense of connection
that's
and
cool.
community. And yeah, I feel like, my impact on the community and friends and loved ones and family, and how tight of a connection we had, how much fun we've had together, how much, joy we created in the world in general. I think that would be one main thing. Um, Professionally, sure, like how many businesses I've helped, with marketing and things might be kind of something that's kind of nice to have as a little cherry on top. But
Yeah,
yeah, I think it's more about that connection and joy and feeling loved and having friends that are connected and feel good around other people, because in this world of just loneliness, how much, connection and fun and love can you bring into it? So I feel like that's how I'll probably end up coming out of it, making sure that people around me, the community that I have around me, have a little bit of it, uh,
yeah,
going forward. I think like it makes you feel better too if you
I agree.
help
I agree.
other
And
people.
what a lovely sentiment, I have to say. And you're not one of these guys that just talks the talk. You really, really walk the walk in terms of the time you spend with your community, your health. And on the health side of things, obviously, I got to see firsthand just how physically strong you are when they had a competition at the PEF annual conference to see who could hang off a bar the longest. And there was a record set the day before, which you absolutely smashed from memory. And you are, don't look at Dmitry and think he is not a strong guy, because this guy can, I think you do Olympic weightlifting and CrossFit and all these types of things. But again, like, I look at you and you invest time in the right things. Like, I spend an hour a day always working out, and I try to do an hour walking. And it's easy to do this when you've had some level of success, I think. I mean, for you, you are living proof that there's a different way to live, full stop, right? It's not like you waited for an exit before you could do all this stuff. You were doing it anyway. And I think that's an amazing, it's amazing lesson and example for people that are watching
I
and
had
listening
this
that are running the business.
one thing is like I had this mindset coach that told me this, and I didn't know. Like I thought that you had to accomplish something to like have all this time and do all this stuff. Like honestly, I thought. And then I was at Dan Martell. I was at his SaaS Academy program, and he was like, "Listen, you have to like say it and live it, and then it will come, like that goal that you have, like say as if it's already happening to you, and your mindset will start switching to as if it's already happening." And
Fantastic.
I was like, okay, this is what I'm going to say in my head, and then I'm going to tell others, and then it's going to happen. And so I think it's important for us. Like a lot of people think like I can't do that. It's not, I can't. And then you can't like that thing in your mind just prevents you.
Well, that's it. If you manifest it enough and you say it enough, it can happen. And I think you are living proof of that. And look, I could talk to you all day and interview you all day, because you are such a great guy and such an interesting guest. And you've had a phenomenal success in business in terms of what you built. And what's really funny about this conversation is, like, when I was looking in you and researching you, and obviously we'd met, I thought this would be a very businessy interview, but actually, like, despite all your success, which you've been kind enough to give some fantastic pills of wisdom around how to think about building a business and building a tool, and how to transition the thing I've actually taken from this conversation, actually the ethos you think about time and the intentionality that you have with living your life, which is honestly, like, genuinely, I admire it, and something that anyone listening or watching should take on board. It's you're a cool example of how to just do things differently and do them really, really well and commit to them. So yeah, congratulations on that. And yeah, hopefully we can hang out soon. And next, when
Yeah.
my thumb was broken when I saw you last time, it's fixed now. So I'll maybe try and
Oh,
hang with you next. I'm gonna hang on one of these
yeah.
bars and go for the 3 minutes or whatever ridiculous thing that you did.
Let's do that. Let's do
Yeah,
that. I signed up with those guys. I tried it out for a month. It wasn't my thing, but they're cool guys.
yeah,
The
yeah. Well, that's
daily
cool.
body coach.
That doesn't surprise me. That doesn't surprise me. Always experimenting. Yeah. Well, look, thanks so much for being a guest on Next Chapter. Honestly, this is, it's really made my day to speak to you. And just like, you
Cool.
have a nice mannerism, and I'm going to leave today feeling happier having spoke to you. So I'm grateful for that.
Well, thanks for having me. Thanks for having me. It was nice. I love chatting about this stuff anytime.